Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. A couple weeks ago, I made a video called A Certain Cell Phone Sample Video. And that sample video came from this phone right here, which is the Motorola Luge. And I'm going to kind of give you what I think of the phone since I have been using it. The phone is not activated, so therefore I have just been able to make a few test calls, run some benchmark tests, and just kind of see how the reception is out and about and everything. And so therefore, I'm going to give you the specs, what I think about it, run some benchmark tests, and all that good stuff. So anyway, here we go. This is on Verizon Wireless Prepaid, by the way. So let's go ahead and get started. This phone runs Android 4.4.4. This phone is splash resistant. It's got a 4.3 inch display at 540 by 960 resolution at 256 ppi. It does have a Super AMOLED advanced display, and it does have a light sensor, proximity sensor, scratch resistant glass, cornering Gorilla Glass 3. This phone has an 8 megapixel camera on the rear with LED flash, with autofocus. Also has full 1080p HD recording at 30 frames per second. And it also has a front-facing camera, although I think it's just VGA quality. This phone runs a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 Plus processor with an Adreno 225 GPU with 1 gigabyte of RAM with 8 gigs of built-in storage, with around 4.5 gigs available to user, and it will support a micro SD card up to a 32 gigabyte card. It has a 2000 milliamp hour non-removable battery, and I am uncertain of the battery specifics. This phone is actually a rebranded version of the Droid Razr M that was released a couple years ago. And this does support LTE, even though you know that Verizon recently added LTE to their Verizon Prepaid phone, which is awesome. Also, the front-facing camera here says 0.9 megapixels. So, pretty good-looking little phone. Screen size is just a little too small at 4.3. Some it won't bother me. I don't mind it a bit. The phone is really nice looking. Top here you have your speaker grill for your ear, front facing camera. On the bottom is your Verizon branding here. On the bottom you really have nothing. On this side here under this flap is your micro SD card slot and your SIM card slot. Micro USB charging port on the back here. The back cover cannot be removed, and as you see here, it'll focus in. And they want to do, there we go. 4G LTE, Verizon branding again, Motorola symbol, camera flash, and single rear speaker. On this side is your power button and your volume rocker. And on top is your 3.5 millimeter headset jack. Power the phone on, and the screen on this phone is very nice. It's got a beautiful look to it. And the phone overall is nice. It's not the most powerful phone in the world. I'm not going to keep this phone here because it's Verizon. I did try to have the phone unlocked because it is a GSM CDMA phone. But of course, with Verizon, I always got the runaround. And Verizon told me to go into the store and have it done. Then Verizon told me to go into or call customer service and have it done. And it's just been one thing after another. So I just pretty much gave up on it. So this right here is going to be the full review of this phone and what I've experienced with it for the past couple of weeks that I have had it. And, watching videos on it and doing benchmark tests and and stuff like that. So anyhow, the phone, like I said, is relatively smooth. It does have some glitches in it. It's not perfect by any means, but for what you're paying for the phone, I've seen this phone range from $50 up to $199. There's no way I pay that kind of money for this phone. Just my opinion, though. But if you want a nice little phone, Motorola, it's not bad for what you're getting. We'll look at the Antutu benchmark test that it did run, which came in at 20,243, which is pretty impressive. I was not expecting that with this phone. We will go to, we won't go to info. We will push this and we will go in here and look. And some of the multitask and runtime and everything got pretty good scores. Of course, RAM operation did not get the greatest, being that it's only 1 GB of RAM. And the 3D graphics got pretty good as well. Look at the performance here, and you'll see that general performance is high performance at 60%. Game performance is average at 50%. And battery is higher performance surpasses 80%. So that's not bad at all. And I'm pretty impressed with the speeds. And as you noticed, you might not see, this is not the greatest quality video here tonight. I'm using my cell phone to do this record. So that way it will cut down, using my cell phone to do this review, so it'll cut down on upload times and everything and all that good stuff. So now we'll go in here to Quadrant, and we will run a test and see what kind of test we can run or have here on this test. Call quality seems to be pretty impressive on this phone. Reception seems to be on par. I am finding myself always in LTE service with this phone. And, overall, like I say, this is just a pretty plain phone. Nothing spectacular. Nothing new, off the charts, mind-blowingly good. But for the price you're paying for this phone, it's not bad. And I think it's well worth the money. If you want a smaller screen phone, 4.3 inch, it is Super AMOLED advanced, and you can tell it. My camera here does not really do it justice. But the screen is very clear and very nice to look at. And I think it's just an awesome little phone, really, to be honest with you. It's thin, and, it's just a good phone in general. So let's see what kind of test we can pull in here. And the test that I ran came in at 6,642, which is, about average for the processor that it is running. CPU down here says 15,078. So, I'm not going to go through too much with this phone because there's not really much to do that I can tell you about since I've not really used it a whole lot. It does seem to be pretty smooth. Some of the games I have played with it have been really nice as well. I like these little 3 circular things here that kind of come with that come on the phone. You can just swipe down and change your clock settings and everything. And I kind of like that. It's pretty neat. Of course, you go over here to your settings. I don't know if I can find the right place. And it's just your average, settings here and everything. Nothing really too shocking. Nothing really too new. It does say Android 4.4.2, even though what I just read said Android 4.4.4. So maybe it'll get an update here soon. I'm not sure. I've just not got it on this phone yet. So I did say 4.4.4, but here it is saying 0.2. So, anyway, not much difference. It's just, maybe a little bit here and there. Really nice phone, though. Like I say, camera. We'll go into the camera for just a minute. And you have several different options when you go in here. Camera, got your flash, you got your exposure, you have your modes of single shot, panorama, multi-shot, timer, and HDR. Your automatic portrait, landscape, night portrait, and sunset. Here you have a variety, if I can get the focus in, of effects here that you can use. And here is your settings, which you do have 8 megapixel and 6 megapixel. Volume key function, you can do zoom or capture. Geotag, storage location, shutter tone, you know, all that stuff. Not a whole lot. There, this one right here is your front-facing camera switch, which does show you, you know, here. And there's not a whole lot to show here. Single shot and timer. And that's about it here. It don't even really give you the option of resolution. So we'll go into camcorder here right quick like. And of course is your flash. Same options. This one here you have normal video. It says slow motion. Now whenever I record it in slow motion, all it does is give me 60 frames per second, and it's super smooth. It's not slow motion by any means, and it does seem to, you know, instead of 30 frames, it's 60 frames, and it looks really nice, I gotta say. The video that I made on this camera, on this phone the other day, it was in slow motion. So, or supposedly slow motion, which it was very clear and it was very smooth. And then, of course, you got time lapse, which is always a nice added feature of 1 second, 5 second, and 10 second. Right here, you have your audio scenes. You got stereo, wind reduction, which really don't work too well. I was out in a little bit of wind recording, and I could hear some wind. So, yeah. Concert mode here does make it sound a little bit more stereo sound, and it does make it sound really nice. I like the way the concert sounds on this phone. Here is, of course, all your effects in your settings. You have video resolution of full 1080, HD 720, 720 by 480, 640 by 480, and QVGA at 320 by 240. And quality is pretty nice on this phone. It's really not bad at all. Volume key function, of course. Shutter tone, about the same. We'll flip around to the front-facing camera. And pretty much you get the same stereo, wind reduction, concert, normal video, time lapse, and the settings here, you are limited to VGA 640 by 480 and QVGA 320 by 240. Geotagging, about the same thing that you see in all of these here. So overall, camera quality is good, video quality is good as well. And there's really nothing to complain about when you look at the Motorola Luge. If you're looking for a nice, reliable phone that feels very solid in the hand, has some pretty good specs, and, you know, texting is nice, call quality is good, reception is on par with most phones. I really apologize that this review was so long, but I really felt like, you know, that this phone did deserve a good review. So, you know, my opinion, it's recommended. It does have a little bit of lag when it's really bogged down, but of course, for a phone that's prepaid, that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for, you know, I think it's very reliable, and I think it works well. So if you got any questions or comments about this phone, please feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. This has been my review of the Motorola Luge on Verizon Wireless Prepaid. Y'all have a good one, and talk to y'all later.